Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Yogi Berra was one of the absolute best ever baseball catchers and managers in the big leagues. But of anybody that I had a chance to follow growing up, he was the most confusing person to listen to, and he had some yogi-isms that, quite frankly, didn't make a lot of sense. Here is one of my favorites attributed to the late, great Yogi Berra. Quote, "If you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else." Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. I certainly hope he will. And good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Locally owned and operated, serving you, Western Waste Services, 734-6969. How true. If you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. Right, Gina?
Yeah, like the beach.
I loved Yogi. He could absolutely, in interviews, now I know this is older than you are, and I'm a baseball nut, but I can remember growing up and they'd interview Yogi after a game when he played for the Yankees, and then when he was also manager for the Yankees, and they'd ask him questions and he would give answers comparable to what I just read a moment ago, and the interviewers would just all of a sudden stand there with their eyes crossed and not know what a thing to say.
Isn't that kind of like interviewing Marshawn Lynch?
That's not a bad analogy. Marshawn Lynch, of course, now, he's cagey. Marshawn Lynch is really making himself some money in acting the way he does because he's got a following, and there's a line of clothing and all of his little isms on the shirts and everything. Mm-hmm. He's not stupid.
No, he's not, and of course he loves his Skittles.
I still go back to how much I disliked the New England Patriots, and even though the Seahawks had beaten my Packers, I wanted the Seahawks to win, and I'm scratching my head. When you've got somebody that absolutely does not run around people, he runs through people, Marshawn Lynch, why they didn't give him the ball?
You know what? I think that is going to be the $64,000 question for the next decade.
I agree. Yeah. Do we have a pledger?
Me or Michael?
Oh, well, there you go, Silver Throat. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And right now it's time for the weather. And the weather is brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. You know what? If you have time today or tomorrow, get in there to Cheney Flooring and take your sweetie with you and let her or he pick out what they want. That's right. Go look at all the selections of flooring and home decor, and they've got it all. And all the newly refurbished furniture. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 4. Oh, my goodness, they're good. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Michael Rogers Weather, good morning.
Good morning. It's going to be a nice day today. In fact, this is the nice part all the way through the weekend. Sunny days, clear nights, a few clouds, but we're done with the storm for a while. 57 for the high today. There you have, all right, 57 for the high. And the overnight low right around the mid to upper 30s. Enjoy the weather. Still where you got.
There you go. MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. These are really, really good folks over there. And don't forget to come in and look at all the flooring and home decor items. And by the way, there's going to be another girls' night out coming up on March 6th. I'll tell you more about that in the days ahead. Don't forget, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Hold on a second, everybody. I got to get this in. Caller, just stand by. I got a quick little message here. Chili Champion time. You betcha at Magic Valley Tire and Paul. Mad Max and the crew over there at Magic Valley Tire. And here's the deal. Mad Max said there's no way that there's a chili made on the face of the earth that's too hot for him. Contraire. Somebody make a chili that'll back him up. You better believe it. They're going to have the judging of the chili at 10:30. If you want to enter, call Amber at 438-8444. And then they're going to have eaten of all the different kinds of chili at 11 with cinnamon rolls and everything at Magic Valley Tire this Saturday, Valentine's Day. Don't you miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Here's my favorite yogiism for you to ponder. Half of the game is 90% mental. Think about that one.
I remember him saying that. Half of the game is 90% mental. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Yogi Berra. There'll never, ever be another one like him. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric, never going to be anybody like them either. I mean, they're the best. Top of the pile. You better believe it. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. I keep telling you that this weather, look outside, it's fantabulous right now, but you know it's not going to last. We're going to have some chilly cold days and snow and everything yet this winter, so be ready to turn that heat up and have your furnace run efficiently with quality air filters from Ramsey Heating and Electric. They've got them all, and you stop in and see them today where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. You know, Valentine's Day's coming up this Saturday. I hope Deanne's not listening, but yours truly has got to go shopping someplace and pick something up. And then you know what next week is? On Wednesday, it's her birthday. I get hit with a double whammy in February. Yeah, she has a birthday and Valentine's Day. Well, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert has everything for the Lovebird sale. Oh, my. All clothing, jewelry, belts, Western boots, 25% off. And they've got a drawing going on, too. A romantic night stay in the honeymoon suite at the Best Western. Plus 2 desserts from Perkins and a $50 gift card to the Upper Crust. You better get in and register today with your lovey. That's right, Valentine's specials at the Lovebird sale at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Ask for Mandy. Quite a gal, quite a gal. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Next Thursday, I got to tell you this real quick, is Lunch Bunch at Denny's. I'll tell you more about that in just a couple of minutes, but don't forget, put it on your calendar. I want to ask you a little question this morning, and it's in regards to what's going on in the news right now as we speak. There is a double standard going on with the left liberals and Democrats. Oh, yeah. Anytime I get a chance to tell you about their double standards, I'm going to. They make up the rules of engagement, if you will, to suit themselves and just keep rolling along. Now, here's the situation. NBC's Brian Wilson, the chief news editor and anchor, caller, please bear with me, just give me 30 seconds, was dumped from NBC News for lying and embellishing stories, as well he should have been. And the media calls it a mistake. No, that's asinine. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. He did it on purpose. However, my question this morning is, and I want you to respond to this, how does Hillary Clinton, who lied about being under sniper fire in Bosnia when her plane landed, how does she get by for lying and still run for president of the United States? Think about it and give me a call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Well, it's because she's a Democrat, I think, but that's not why I called. Solution for welfare fraud. You know, we've got people out there that are collecting 2 and 3 welfare checks under different Social Security numbers. I think people on welfare should start to pay taxes, and then they might be under the watchful eye of the IRS.
Yeah, but that's kind of an oxymoron, too, the way the IRS has operated themselves for the last couple of years.
Well, we've got to start somewhere.
I agree with you. But I'll still maintain what I've said on this program many, many times, Tony, that you get 3 months. If you don't have a job at the end of 60 days, you get a warning that you're at the end of the road, 30 days more, and you're off welfare, you're off any kind of gratuity, unless, of course, you're absolutely disabled or whatever. There are people that absolutely need it. But we've got to wean the leeches and everybody else that's taking advantage of the system off the system. And at the end of 90...
There are always people out there that legitimately need help, and I'm all for that. It's just the fraudulent ones that are costing us our property taxes to go up and everything else.
No question. The whole system needs revamping. And now, with the inclusion of millions and millions of illegal aliens, you and me and taxpayers are really going to get slugged in the jaw.
Well, we just had our property tax increase, and then we've got the never-ending school levies, and then we got this welfare thing going on. I don't know how we're going to survive.
I don't either. Tony, God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
I mentioned, and we're going to be there next week, but you can stop in anytime, all the time, every time you get hungry, to Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. I am looking at some of the absolutely wonderful menu items right now. Oh, my goodness. And you know what? Pictures are worth 1,000 words, but oh, my. Wait till you get something set down in front of you like their skillets or their breakfast or their lunches or their dinners. Oh, it is wonderful. These folks really know how to cook up a storm for you, and it's delicious. Stop in today. Thomas and Terry, the whole crew, they always serve you with the best of food, the best of service at Denny's Restaurant. Like I said, 611 Overland and Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And we'll have Zeb's Lunch Bunch, the original, the only lunch bunch, next week on the 19th, Thursday the 19th. So be ready next week. It'll be our Valentine's Day lunch bunch. You be there. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hillary lied, and it's nothing new. This is the most incompetent woman, the most pathetic personality, I think, that's running for the presidency today. Really, I do. She has no qualifications. She has no personality. What really, and be honest out there in Radio Land, you know I don't like her, so I'm prejudiced against her. I admit that right up front. But what qualifications does she have to be the President of the United States? And knowing that she fabricated stories to make herself look better in the news media and get all the opening lines on various newscasts around the world. Oh, we took sniper fire and we had to run for cover. It's a lie. Now, going back to Brian Williams of NBC, the guy is on a 6-month suspension with no pay. He may never come back again to grace the anchor chair on any network. He lied. And it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. He embellished and lied stories that he was not even involved in many cases. But Hillary Clinton lies, and she's running for office as the flag bearer for the Democratic Party. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller.
Huh?
Talk to me.
Hello.
Al, please, go ahead.
Okay, yesterday I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he had on a reporter that works with the TV and that somewhere down south, and they was talking about Hillary Clinton and all them. And this woman asked him, do you think she's had facial surgery and that? Rush says, I don't know. And she told Rush, and it's on the air, she says, you know, she reminds me of somebody ridden hard and put up wet.
Hillary Clinton, I'm not sure her health is very good. I am not sure that bump on the old noggin wasn't much more serious than what was anticipated. I'm not sure, again, about anything to do with her and all the dredging up of the past. I think there's so much history, and there's so much that is clouded over the Clintons over the many years. Why in the world would this country want to put her in the Oval Office is beyond me.
I don't know. I still say, and I'll stand by it, I still say her troubles is in the bottle.
There again, that's purely speculation, but I have not, I've heard many people say the same thing. I know, but pictures and actual facts are different things, but I'm not going to argue with you because I've heard that rumor before.
Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Really, Hillary hasn't done anything. Oh, don't give me, well, she was Secretary of State. Well, she was a senator. Well, please. Barack Obama was a state senator, and look what we got with him. Bingo, zero. And as far as Secretary of State, she flew around the world a lot. But really, her accomplishments are virtually nil. Many, many people have been on television. Many, many people have been on newscasts and asked the question, what did Hillary Clinton accomplish as Secretary of State? And gee, golly, their faces go blank and their eyes kind of narrow in on a focus and go, and they waste a lot of airtime with dead air. So really, do we want that woman as President of the United States? And the Democrats, I put this appeal out to Democrats that might be listening this morning. I know some do that just absolutely hate me every day, which is fine. It gets their blood pressure going. Give me one good reason. One good reason why that woman would make a better president than Barack Obama. Actually, I think it would be a lot worse. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental with old Eli, the Packerbacker, and the rest of the crew. I'm telling you, they have the equipment to get the job done and get it done right and efficiently. They've got retail equipment sales, equipment rentals, parts and service. You go in there, tell them what you need, tell them what you need to do, tell them what you're looking for, and they'll help you get everything taken care of. Absolutely. They are excellent locations serving you. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They've got it all for you at Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was deeply saddened, and I mean this sincerely, when I heard the news this morning that the Chicago Little League team, and I don't even have all the facts and the figures and the scope of the investigation or anything. That's how quick it came up on me this morning. I heard a news blurb come across that the Chicago Little League team that was the national champion cheated. They cheated. They played kids that were not within their restrictive area. And they brought in people from outside the area to play for that team, and they cheated. And the championship now has been given for our national kids to the Las Vegas Little League team. And I shake my head. I just absolutely shake my head. Lumping stories like Brian Williams of NBC lying about things like being shot at in a helicopter and like dead bodies floating by him in New Orleans and other stories of embellishment. And then you look at this story, lying and cheating to win a national title for Little League Baseball. What have we become? You know, I mean, really look at it. I don't care what the circumstance or the situation, be it politics, be it athletics, whatever, that we have to cheat to be the best. We have to lie. We have to embellish. I mean, think about it. Every day in the news, you're hearing something else. And these kids that played on that team, yeah, you can point your finger at them and say, oh, those bad kids and all the bad parents and everything. But actually, the management, the coaching staff that put that team together, they should not be allowed at a Little League baseball game the rest of their life. They should be banished from anything to do with Little League baseball, because it was probably them that put together the team and embellished through lies and innuendos where these players came from. It's a shame. Absolute shame. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I've got a dear friend, Jeff Poole, over there at Scows. And I've said for a long, long time that Scows has been on my program quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 years. And at Scows CarQuest Centers, they've got all, this isn't brag, this is a fact, they've got all your automotive replacement products, accessories, and supplies for virtually every vehicle. That's right, every detail matters. 3 locations, 518 Overland in Burley, 323 East 8th and Highway 25 in Rupert, and exit 211 I-84 with their big truck center. They care. They know what they're doing. And by golly, they can help you. Every detail matters. Parts, sales, and service, Scows CarQuest Centers, auto and truck parts, serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Zeb.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, this Brian Williams deal should be a wake-up call for all the people in the news and politicians. We need to start holding them accountable. If they lie to us, by George, they need to be run out on a rail.
You know, Doug, what you just said, it gives me an opportunity to say something to you and everybody out in my audience. And Gina's on the other end of this microphone, and she can attribute that this is the truth, and Deanne's sitting right here in the office. I check, I double check, and I triple check every single story that I put on the air every day to make sure that they are A, in truth, B, the facts are there, and C, to make sure that somebody politically isn't pulling the wool over our eyes.
Very true.
You have to.
Yes, you do. I mean, you and like all the newscasters and even the politicians, they need to tell the truth so that we can trust them and believe in them. They lie to us. You can't trust them.
Yeah, and here's something else, Doug, and I got to do a hard break, you know, at the bottom of the hour, but I'll say this, and I want you to respond quickly. One of the biggest things that people put their faith in, and they've got to be more careful, are items and stories that are on the Internet. For some reason, they think they're gospel, and I would venture to say, Deanne, would you agree with this? Nod your head over there, please, that almost 80% of some of those stories that come to me are not verified and untruthful, and we go through Snopes or whomever to check it out, and they're not factual, and I throw them away.
This is very true, very true. And a quick lesson that my granddad taught me when I was young, he says, you tell the truth, you do not have to remember anything.
There you go. Doug, I appreciate your call always. Thank you very much. Hey, it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology. Did you hear that? You didn't? Well, hearing loss is not a part of aging. Don't ignore hearing loss. It's not an age problem, and it's not normal. You can go in and have it checked at Mount Harrison Audiology at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number to call, 312-0957 with Christine Pickup, Mount Harrison Audiology. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Biotech critics say a loophole in federal regulations for genetically engineered crops will backfire against major biotech companies. USDA can only restrict biotech crops if they incorporate genes that pose a possible plant pest risk. Since 2011, the USDA has allowed companies to freely cultivate biotech crops without any environmental analysis because they're not made with genes from plant pathogens. These approvals of unstudied biotech crops are an undermined claims by large biotech developers that GMOs are robustly scrutinized by the federal government, said George Kimbrell, attorney for the Center for Food Safety, a group that wants stronger biotech regulations. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Do you know that an estimated 30 school children per 1,000 school children have a hearing loss? Better have your children's hearing checked. Call Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, 312-0957. Did you hear that? There you go. Good morning. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Mondays, don't forget, be listening at about 8:31, 8:32, right in this time slot, for the question to possibly win a half dozen of delicious cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, they are good. Oh, the food's good. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Sophie's Chatterbox. Don't you forget it, okay? Calls welcome. Give me a jingle. Yesterday was another day in heck for the White House. I have never seen through any administration that I can remember, be it Clinton, be it the Bushes, that I can remember, that was this inept, this incapable of doing things the right way, and actually acting like buffoons. Yesterday, whether it was in regards to Obama himself and saying something that was totally ridiculous, or whether it was Jen Psaki, or whether it was Josh Earnest, they couldn't get on the same page. And if you'll think about when Obama had that interview on Vox, V-O-X, not Fox, but Vox News, and I'm just paraphrasing now and not giving a direct quote, and he said that the shootings at the Jewish deli in France were random. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. The president showed his ineptness and his, whether it was inability to tell the truth or whatever, it was because they interviewed on a phone call. One of the terrorists said that they were going to go out and kill Jews. And they went to that deli, and it was absolutely a heinous act of barbarism. And then for the president to say it was a random act, and then Josh Earnest got backed into a corner by more than a couple of reporters. He couldn't come up and say what it was. Then Jen Psaki couldn't say what it was. And you just have to wonder how inept, totally inept, this administration is. What a bunch of buffoons. I don't know if you worry about it as much as I do, but the left hand hasn't got a clue what the right hand is doing or vice versa. Nothing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. By the way, on Tuesdays, like we did yesterday, Dr. History, we get more people call and say, oh man, we love old Dr. History and his stories of the Old West. Well, we're very blessed that Minicash Sales with Zach and Joanne, they sponsor now Dr. History, and they're located at 1321 East Main in Burley. Boy, they've got everything, windows, and they've got all the vinyl and metal siding and doors and carpet, and they've got the best at Tartar Ranch and farm equipment, all the panels. Holy moly, they got everything. right there at Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, it was so sad when you hear about the championship baseball team, the youth team there from Chicago, and then to find out that they, cheated in order to win. What does this tell people? I guess, number one, eventually you're going to be found out like Brian Williams, and of course, why is it that Brian Williams is being brought out and the president gets away with, telling us fibs and lies every day, and so does Hillary.
Yep. Gets
away with it. Why are they so insulated from it all?
Stop right there, though, because I want to ask you a question. I brought this up first hour, and Brian Williams did not make a mistake. This is an erroneous statement by the press. He didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. You know as well as I do that he made a choice to tell a lie and embellish the stories, as did Hillary Clinton when she landed in Bosnia, and she said under heavy sniper fire. Now, he's on a 6-month hiatus away from his job and no pay. This woman is running for president of the United States. Explain that to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There seemed to be a double standard. All of a sudden they got to have somebody a fall guy, and Brian Williams, a fall guy, takes all the. It's always in the media. It's a matter of diversion. The real stories never get told, and so they have some other story that comes out. And regardless how small it is, maybe a deflated football covers up what's really going on in the real world.
I agree with that. And I'm going to be talking in just a minute, and it's going to be a really sad story to comment on, and that's the story of Kayla Mueller from Arizona. And that is that's another blemish on the White House and this administration.
Absolutely. My heart goes out to the family, and and then to hear Kristen Powers last night on O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was getting, my blood pressure was going up. If you happen to see it, it was just unbelievable how she said, well, there's only been 4 deaths with all of the soldiers that have died over, and so forth. She's totally disconnected to the real world.
Yeah.
Most liberals are.
Yeah, it's such a crying shame. Liberalism and leftism is like a cancer that's growing and permeating itself all over our country, and I'm sick of it. Adrian, thank you so much for your call. I got to run and do something. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. This story about Kayla Mueller from Arizona, 26 years of age. What a nice young lady. What a caring and loving young lady from all the accounts that we've read about her. Wanted to go over there and help people. She knew that people were in need. People needed medical attention. She knew that she wanted to be a source of aid and assistance for those people. Captured by the most evil vermin on the face of the earth, ISIS. And here is something that was said yesterday on 2 or 3 different accounts. And I want to repeat it here this morning. The subhumans called ISIS, at first, according to the reports, had put her in with some of the other hostages. Now, it was known, according to some of the reports that came out yesterday, where the hostages were being held. Now, according, again, and I'm going to say this, according to the reports that were heard yesterday, they moved the hostages to 3 different locations, and we and our intel, we knew where they were. And again, using the phrase, according to the reports, the White House was supplied all this information, but they hesitated. And they said, no, we're not going to go in after them now. James Foley was beheaded. Others were beheaded. And this young lady was killed and possibly blown to smithereens by ISIS to make it look like the Jordanian Air Force had committed the atrocity. We knew, according to the reports, where these hostages were being held, and this administration decided to hesitate, not do anything, and wait. And there is a very sad, grieving family in Prescott, Arizona, because their daughter died, and I would say needlessly. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'm going to be blunt when I say this, and I'll take the heat and the criticism if need be. The blood of those victims should be on the hands of this administration. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Later on this afternoon, I'm going to be going over to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with Nick Greenwell and his staff. Now, that being said, nobody is better. Nobody knows their profession better. They know all about physical therapy. They know all about the sports medicine. They know all about the exercises. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool in the area. And they've got a staff that absolutely knows how to get you back to feeling and being you. Okay? Plain and simple. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, write this down, 678-1191, 678-1191. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. According to the generals, I don't care who you listen to that have been there, they've had their boots on the ground. They've risked their life and limb along with the other soldiers. They're shaking their heads. What is this administration doing or not doing? And led by Susan Rice? You people out in the audience that are left-leaning liberals that want to say, oh, you're against feminists, you're an anti-feminist, you're against women having a position like that. Yes, I am. Because she has no talent or ability or anything else as far as experience to lead and tell our generals what to do. She's dumber than a post. Does that come across as possibly being a little blunt? I hope so. She has no abilities whatsoever to be telling generals in the military any kind of strategy whatsoever. None. And our forces, our armed forces and our military, our soldiers, men and women, are suffering because of it. And quite frankly, so are we. So are we. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Time for the weather real quick, and then I know you're calling in. I can just feel it. And the weather is brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. They've got all the selections of new firearms from Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, all the ammunition, all the accessories. And above all, they've got the top-notch people working there that can help you and answer all your questions at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Here now, the weather.
Good morning. It's going to be a nice day today. In fact, this is the nice part all the way through the weekend. Sunny days, clear nights, a few clouds, but we're done with the storm for a while. 57 for the high. And the overnight low right around the mid to upper 30s. Enjoy the weather. Still what you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see Ryan and the crew today. Gee, we must have made a whole bunch of people mad. Imagine that. Give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Gina, are you right there by your microphone? I wanted to ask you a question this morning. I was going to do this earlier and I forgot.
What's up?
When you watch television, I know you don't on a continued basis or regularly, but when you watch television and you see the various advertisements come up on on the screen. Have you realized they spend almost 90% of the commercial time telling you how bad the drug is?
Yeah, they tell you all of the side effects, which should be a great indicator of why you should not take it.
Amen. Amen. I'll talk to you more about this. I hear a phone ringing.
Yes, we've got Al on one line, and I don't know who's on the other.
Well, let's see. We had Al. Al's just stand by. We're going to take the other I don't know who first, and then we'll put you on second because we had you on a little earlier. I want to give everybody a fair shot. So stay tuned. Don't go away. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm talking about security threats. Hillary Clinton was one of the ones that tried to destroy Blackwater.
Yep.
Blackwater, a lot of people didn't like Blackwater, but they were doing good security work over in dangerous work in foreign countries to save some of our dignitaries and other people overseas there. And Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are major threats to this country, as is Susan Rice.
Well, Susan Rice is totally inept and a laughing stock to be in the position she's in. Tony, God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Got to run.
Yeah,
Thank you. Al, my buddy, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm listening to this, what you've been talking about. You know, it's funny that the people that do good, the Good Samaritans, all that stuff, to go around the world trying to, help people out that need it. We don't do a damn thing to help them, but yet they bust their buns to get over there and get a traitor and release 5 terrorists. You tell me where the humanity is in that.
I can't.
Nah,
I can't.
Damn right we can't, because we got a neat-literate bunch of people, jackasses in that White House, that should be up on charges, and Bonier's too damn lazy to do his job.
You know, let me back up here a little bit. Let's go back to Ronald Reagan. And I'm a Ronald Reagan fan, and if that offends somebody out in the audience, I guess it's your problem, not mine. But I honestly have thought many times when I write up the notes on my program every day, what would happen today, if Ronald Reagan were president of the United States and was presented with these inept people and these problems? I wonder where we would be with Ronald Reagan if he was handling those problems today.
We'd be a lot better off, because he wouldn't put up with the bull crap that's going on. He'd say, hey, you got 24 hours to release them hostages. Remember that?
Yeah.
The day he got in office, man, he was released. And he done the same thing we told Russia, tear down this wall.
Well,
if that happened. So we need somebody that's got guts to stand up to these people and say, that's enough. You either toe the line here and help us out and knock it off, or we're going to come in, we're going to whip your butt real thorough.
Al, how can you have military generals, colonels, everybody, whether it's Colonel Oliver North, whether it's generals, I don't care who they are, come on and shake their heads and say, whatever we're doing, it's wrong, it's not working, and the terror threat is growing like a cancer, and then you have a woman that absolutely is not even one iota qualified to be in her position, and she is strategizing and telling the generals what to do?
That's what I said. Bonier's got to do his job and put a stop to some of this stuff. He has the right to do it. Congress does. Do it.
I agree. Al, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good.
You bet. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, how are you this morning?
I'm worked up as usual because of the stupidity and the asinine, unqualified people that are leading this country. Good morning.
Well, I'm right with you. I seen a cartoon on Facebook yesterday. Had Obama and President Bush and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and you had the old Bush in there and Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, and they were sitting up there, and Ronald Reagan was kind of teaching a class, looked like a college setting, and Obama stepped up there and said, socialism works. You know, we've got to take a little bit from the guys that are making money and give to those other people. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do that on this test. So they went ahead and averaged the score. Everybody got a B. Man, there was all sorts of people that was happy. You know, them slackers that didn't study, they were happy. The people that really studied, they weren't so happy. And this went on and so forth, and they went ahead and did it on the next test. Well, them slackers slacked off even more, and the people that used to study, they decided, well, there's no point in us studying, so they slacked off. Well, the average of the class the next time was a D. They did it again. Everybody did the same thing. They just started slacking off even more, and everybody got an F. And, you know, that really hit home for what I've seen what's going on in the world today. The more you give, the more they expect.
Yep.
And then they just get to the point where everyone's lazy and doesn't want to do nothing.
Well, we have that. I mean, we've got a principle going on in this country of basically defying the law, defying the Constitution, and bringing people in that are not citizens of this country and affording them all the luxuries and the benefits and the welfare system of our citizens and us, the taxpayers. And we're breeding a society that absolutely is going to be standing there with a tin cup on the corner for the rest of their life.
There was a deal on the news the other day, and it was talking about people that was on welfare, and they went into this, I don't remember what town it was, I think it was Chicago, but there was people there that were fourth generation of never having a job.
Yeah.
On the public domain.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, man, thank you for your good story. I appreciate it. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Seb.
Hello, Kilt Man.
Hey, you know, National Forest Service puts up these signs everywhere they go. So do not feed the animals because they become dependent. What is this country doing?
I can't answer that question because I sit here and I scratch my head and shake my head and say, my goodness, how much worse can it get? And then to go along with what you're talking about, I don't know if you heard about this hotline number that I talked about yesterday where the Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security, now they've put out a hotline number for the illegal aliens. If they feel, the illegal aliens feel that they're not being treated fairly, they can call a hotline number and complain. And you and I are paying for that.
Well, you know, let's take advantage of this. Let's use this hotline, and we can just get their address and that, and find out where they are, go gather them up, ship them off.
I am so sick and tired. There was a Border Patrol agent on television this morning at 4:30, and I know that's long before you even fluffed the pillow up again, but there was a Border... Yeah, I know. There was a Border Patrol agent on this morning, and he just shook his head, and he says, we're done. We can't do anything. We are completely stopped and stymied in our job, and we're being villainized by our own government because they're giving every advantage to the illegals.
Well, I still think, well, the only way this country could go back to the way it is there's two things. One, we got to have a revolution. Number two, we kick Obama and his cronies out and nullify everything that he's done up to this point.
I can't argue that. If the American public doesn't stand up on its back hind legs and strike back at a government that absolutely is out of control, we're done. We're toast. It's over.
Well, that's it. And, you know, and the other thing is, you heard about the justice system sending letters out to all the sheriffs and that around the country?
Yeah.
Homeland Security?
Yeah. I mean, we could go...
Tell them, well, you know, you're going to have to do this and yada, yada, and they're saying, no, we're not going to.
We have got major problems, and the liberal left, the Democrats, are sitting there like big, fat, overweight, chubby Cheshire cats, and all they're doing is taking a toothpick and cleaning their teeth because they're seeing more food coming.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And they, you know, all they want to be the person that sits there on their butt, says a few words now and then, and get paid for it.
Absolutely.
Period.
But look, I go back, and I'm kind of going a shotgun approach on this morning, and I got to do a commercial, so real fast response. Why would anybody like Obama or any other president want to have a friend, quote unquote, like Al Sharpton, one of the most despicable human beings in the United States of America that owes almost over $5 million in back taxes, and he gets a free pass to go into the White House as an advisor?
Because it's his friend. It's his friend. It's like his other cronies and that. They don't necessarily have the knowledge, the ability, or the skill to do a certain job, but they're friends. So they get it.
It says a lot for this administration. Thanks, Kilt, man. God bless you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. I tell you what, Al Sharpton, you and I, you and I and the audience that's listening, I mean, if we get into some tax trouble, they're going to put the fear in our hearts. You ain't never going to see daylight again, boy. And Al Sharpton is walking all over, free as a bird, giving advice, quote unquote, to this administration. And he owes over $5 million in taxes. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Calm down, Zeb. Founders Day celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in honor of the man, Mr. Les Schwab. What a great individual. And as I've said many, many times, I had a chance to meet that man in Prineville, Oregon years ago, and he just was one of those kind of people that just magnetized. I was magnetized by his personality. Just a really nice man. Well, the big Founders Day celebration's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they've got a lot of the all-season tread, economically priced tires, some starting as low as just $39.99. Oh my goodness. And the very best in batteries and front end alignment, shocks and struts, brake service, oh my, and $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4. Whoa. Yes, sir. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Yep. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back at 9:06, and my dear friend from Colorado, Doug Johnson's going to be on, and then at 9:30, we're going to have Senator Lee Hyder from Twin Falls, and we're going to be talking about Medicare, Medicaid, and next week, we've got some really excellent segments on Medicare and Medicaid, and a lot of other things, too, including global warming and the idiocy of that. We'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, my, good morning. Look outside. Oh, my. I wish I was outside doing this program up on the sun deck. Maybe it's not that warm, I don't know. But anyway, it sure looks beautiful outside this morning. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, locally owned and operated. Kelly and the crew doing a great job. I got to get a hold of Kelly later on today. Deanne, don't let me forget to give him a call. And carts, dumpsters, roll-offs, portable restrooms. Yep, the old porta potties, you better believe it. And they've got it all for you. And a great route service to have your garbage picked up. And it's gone. It's out of there. We've been on that route service for a long time. And you can almost set your watch by those folks. Absolutely excellent. Always at your disposal, locally owned and operated by the best. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Oh, my, we got a lot of things to talk about. Coming up at the end of this month, don't forget, Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon, which will be held at Maury's Steakhouse on Saturday, February 28th. Don't miss it. Meet and greet starts at noon, and then lunch at 1. We should have many, and I'm going to be calling Bert and Elaine and find out who they expect for our politicals to be there, so it should be really, really good. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, his family and staff serving you, and when there's the passing of a loved one, they really help. They can travel to rural towns and churches and help you with all the arrangements, but always holding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, serving you and your family. All right, now we are going to go via the telephone to, like Festus used to say on Gunsmoke, Colorado, and we're going to talk to Doug Johnson. Good morning, Doug. How you doing?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Fantabulous. Doug, I really enjoyed your blog called The Correct Response to Obama's Prayer Breakfast Speech, and I want to get to that in just a few moments if we could. But first and foremost this morning, and I've been talking about this subject for quite a bit this morning and yesterday, Brian Williams with NBC News, last night the news came out that he's going to be placed on 6 months leave of absence and then no pay. It might be the virtual end of his career, and the news media has said he made a mistake. No, he didn't. He made bad choices when he embellished the stories. But my question to you this morning is, here they're going to throw him into the dark pit of anonymity and possibly never come back. Hillary lied. She said she took sniper fire in Bosnia, and she's running for president, and she's getting away with it.
Well, I've been asked about this a number of times, and I heard about it too on Monday night, and then all day yesterday it was being talked about, and I think that personally, I think the Brian Williams story is a non-story. He's a liar. He is, as you said, no different than Hillary Clinton. He's no different than Barack Obama, who we learned yesterday, no surprise to us, but David Axelrod admitted that Obama had lied about his stand on gay marriage because it would be more politically acceptable so he could get elected back in 2008. Washington and the media are both full of liars. And I guess I am to the point, Zeb, where to me they're non-stories because Americans do nothing about it. They should be outraged. They should be storming the White House. They should be turning off television shows of people like this. I'd never understand why people would watch a show that they don't support, because that every single time you turn a TV on, you're voting support for that show. And these lying people in the media are the worst, so why would we support them? I don't understand that.
Yeah, but we don't want to, and I won't allow it on my program, regardless of who the guest is, to lump everyone together as a liar, because that's a misnomer. And I think it taints and unfairly gives criticism to the people that are trying to do a good job and put forth a good news product.
Well, I would say I will add to the word media. I will add mainstream media, because I can't find somebody in the mainstream media who tells the truth. Those that do get out, like Cheryl Atkinson. Otherwise, the mainstream media lies consistently. Whether you're watching NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, all we get are lie after lie after lie out of these people, and it's because they have, excuse me. They have an agenda. The agenda is to support the progressive agenda, the progressive cause, and so they will do and say whatever they have to get their cause to be supported by the American people.
You know, it's a shame, because we were talking about this earlier. Doug, you've listened to my program on the internet, zebbell.com, and I put a lot of time, effort, and research into making sure that the stories that we put on the air are verified by at least two sources. And I'm just sickened by the almost free pass, if you will, about Brian Williams going for a 12-year period with bad lying choices, not mistakes, but bad lying choices, and he deserves what he gets, possibly even worse. But I'll go back again. Here's Hillary lying under the same circumstances. Well, I took sniper fire in Bosnia. Oh, it was terrible. She lied, and she might be the Democratic nominee for president. What in the world is happening to us as a people that will accept that?
Well, I guess I go back. We accepted it when her husband lied to us, and when she helped him lie to us. We allowed that, and we allowed Republicans to stay in office that allowed him to stay in office, because they would not throw him out of office in 1999 when the Senate ran the trial. They circled the wagons, and Republicans helped protect him. They protected his lies. They protected his deception. So we see it as a pattern in their family. We come forward to 2008. We have Barack Obama. I said this morning on another radio show, and I'm very serious about it, and I told the host I'm not joking. It's harder to name a time when Barack Obama tells the truth than when he tells a lie. It's almost impossible to find a time he tells the truth. And so this has become the norm in America, and people just write it up as, well, that's just the way politicians are, when they should be outraged and storming the White House, but they're not. Because Americans
Well, frankly, bluntly, Zeb, Americans live the same kind of lives. Americans have come to accept that lying is okay. Certain types of lies are acceptable. I wrote about that in No Tomorrow. It's one of the problems in our society. We have become a corrupt, immoral society. That is what America is today. And those of us who stand against that are becoming fewer and fewer in number. And unless and until America changes their behavior, changes their view of right and wrong, things will not change for America.
I can't argue that at all. I am interested, though, to find out I read the blog, and I want to have you kind of give a synopsis of it, short synopsis, about the prayer breakfast speech, and see if you and I are on the same page. What were your general thoughts that you wrote about in your blog regarding the prayer speech and Obama literally, in my case, offending Christianity around the globe?
Yeah, sadly it's not a surprise because he's offended Christianity the whole time he's been in office. He's a flagrant liar. We know he's not a Christian. Jeremiah Wright even admitted to Paul Kengor when he wrote his book that he had told Barack Obama that he would make him comfortable with Christianity in his Muslim faith.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe that Obama's a practicing Muslim. Maybe he is, and I don't know it. I think he's an atheist who is a Muslim sympathizer. But regardless, for him to offend Christianity doesn't really surprise me a lot. It's disappointing that we put up with it. And my net conclusion, Zeb, was that all the angst I've seen in the media about, in the conservative media about, well, why would he do that? And why won't he stand up for Christianity? I think is nonsense. We've never seen him do that. He stands up for Muslims and Islam. He hates Jews and he hates Christians. It's that simple. And he takes action against them. And so, to me, it's not surprising. The real issue is what should the response be, and not the response of us now, but the audience who was in the room. What should they have done? And I believe the proper response when he did that would be get up and walk out.
I agree. Now you, Doug Johnson in Colorado, and myself here, I am absolutely emphatic. I agree with you. We have not rehearsed this, talk about this prior to this phone call, and I absolutely think everybody at the dais should have got up. The audience should have got up as offended people, and they should have been, and left.
That's right. And if you leave him standing there speechless, looking foolish, it sends a message. And even if the media never broadcasts, the conservative media would. But the point is made to him that we are not going to tolerate this. And while we're stuck with you in office because we don't have a Congress who has the spine to impeach him or to send somebody there to arrest him for breaking the Constitution over 77 times, we still, as the citizens, will not put up with it.
Doug,
people need to do.
Doug, I've had people send me emails and send telephone calls to my cell phone, etc., and really criticize me, and I'm being very honest about this, about, you don't respect the president. Well, wait a minute. I never said I did. I have no respect for this president because he has no respect for us, our values, and the Constitution. Now, don't give me this garbage about, he's a president, we have to respect him. No, we do not. This is a man that absolutely has gone against the grain, if you will, and has turned everything upside down in a very liberal, very leftist procedure to turn us away from capitalism, turn us towards socialism. I can't respect that.
Well, you're right, Zeb, and the fact is that what you're hearing, what you say you're hearing, are the classic leftist arguments trying to make you look bad because you're demeaning the president. And the fact is, it's not about respecting the president. He doesn't deserve respect because he has not earned it. The office is to be respected.
I agree.
But it doesn't mean we have to respect the person in it.
I agree.
So I think that there comes a point where you have to draw a line. And the other point I made in my blog, which I think is very, very important, and this is about all elected officials on any level, they are hired servants. They work for us. They are not to be looked up to. They are not to be idolized. They are not to be put on a pedestal. These people work for us as servants, and they should be treated as such. And if they don't understand their servants, we should replace them.
There's a situation that's going to be coming up shortly with the Congress inviting Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel, the Prime Minister, to come over and speak to Congress. And it's absolutely got completely out of hand with the little child's attitude displayed by Obama and Pelosi and the others, oh, well, we're going to be out of town, wink, wink, and we won't have time to visit with him. This is our only ally that we can trust in the Middle East. And this is complete incompetency, complete idiocy shown by the Obama administration. Your thoughts?
I don't think it's incompetency. I think it's intentional. The truth has come out is the White House knew before Netanyahu ever even accepted the invitation, and they knew the invitation had been issued. They have lied when they said they weren't told about it, number one. Number two, they don't see him as an ally. They see him as an enemy. They want to wipe him out and replace him, and that's why Obama is working so hard to get Iran nuclear weapons and also empower the Muslim Brotherhood to control the North African area of the Middle East. They don't respect, they don't like the Jews. They have a hatred for them, and the only thing they want from Jews is their contributions at election time and their votes. Otherwise, they don't want them. And as far as Israel is concerned, they don't want it to exist. That is why, for example, Obama has referred to ISIS or IS as ISIL, because the L stands for Levant, which recognizes the Middle East as an area without Israel even existing. And so this is no surprise. And to me, they're not showing up for the speech really says more about them than it does anything else. And I think the big issue that really disturbs me, Zeb, is yesterday I heard a rabbi speaking.
Yes.
And he spoke about how dismayed and disappointed he was that Obama, was upset with Netanyahu and the Democrats might not be at this speech. And I actually looked up his email address and sent him a note and said, "Are you foolish? Do you not understand who these people are, that they hate your people, that they hate Israel? That's who these people are, and the sooner the Jewish people understand that and recognize it, the better off they'll be." Now, the good news is, in Israel itself, most of the people are waking up to the fact that America is no longer their ally, and they need to wake up to that for their own safety. Hopefully, if we can change things in the next election, they'll feel they have an ally again. But right now, they do not have an ally in America.
It's interesting that you brought up that rabbi, because there's more to what happened on the air with that interview than what you basically said. It was a very impassioned, it was a very emotional type response from this man, and he had tears in his eyes when he was talking about this situation with this administration, and you could almost feel the heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching thoughts of the Israeli people. What has happened to America? Why are they forsaking us? That's the feeling I had watching that.
I didn't see an interview. I heard an interview on the radio.
Oh, well, I saw it on television, and I saw the man with the tears welling up in his eyes.
View of what was going on.
Yeah. And basically, we have a call real quick, and we'll take that with a question for you, Doug, so stand by. Caller, go ahead real fast, please.
Yeah, I just heard it on the radio, but I hope I'm not covering something you've already covered. But, I heard that Biden and somebody else and the Obama administration are over in Israel actively campaigning against Bibi Netanyahu. I just thought it was unbelievable, and I'll hang up.
Thanks, Randy, for the call. I, too, have heard some of those similar rumors. Doug, what have you heard that behind the scenes, under the table, behind locked doors, that there is a movement on behalf of this administration not to have any support for Netanyahu in the next election? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned on your show, but over the last couple of weeks it's come out that there are 13 key Obama campaign people who are working quietly behind the scenes over there to unseat Bibi Netanyahu. And in addition to that, the State Department, our taxpayer dollars through the State Department is now being used to fund voting efforts over there to register to vote Palestinians to vote against Bibi Netanyahu, just as the left works over here to register people for the Democrat Party. So we are actually paying for that effort as taxpayers to have efforts there to undermine Bibi Netanyahu's re-election efforts. And I would say that we should all be praying very hard. And now, fortunately, the good news is that Netanyahu and his party are pushing very hard for a new law to be passed quickly in Israel that would outlaw these actions and end this. But whether or not they'll have success remains to be seen.
Doug, you study this. I read about it every day. But I want to hear your opinion about this. You know, when you look at Netanyahu and what he has done and how he's approached the problems, how he's addressed the United Nations, how he sat down with Obama and looked him in the eye and said what they want, what they don't want. What has the man done wrong that he should be replaced by a neophyte coming in that doesn't have his toe in the water, so to speak, and could create even more problems than what we have now? What are your thoughts?
Well, he's conservative. He's not a leftist, and that's why they want to replace him.
Yep.
Bibi Netanyahu is probably the greatest world leader on the scene right now. America should be so blessed to have a leader like Bibi Netanyahu. And unfortunately, we don't, and we don't have a lot to choose from. And we don't have a choice now for another 2 years. But I think that... Of course, you and I have talked about it before, Zeb. It's no surprise. This is biblical. The world hates the Jews. They're going to turn against the Jews.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Charles Krauthammer said this past week that, or he wrote this past week that really what's happening, the rise of anti-Semitism around the world, is no surprise because the short time we've had since World War II, where it's been down, has been an exception in world history, not the norm. Throughout history, the Jews have been a persecuted people, and that's certainly a known fact. And the good news, for those of us who understand what the future holds, the good news is that God has promised that once Israel becomes a nation again, which they did in 1948, they will never be removed from that land again, and He will intervene with miraculous power to stop anybody who tries to remove them. So they have that on their side. But my view, Sam, and this is pretty simplistic, is if God is on their side, why would you want to be against them?
Yeah.
I mean, just from a practicality standpoint, it's stupid.
Absolutely.
Setting aside the fact that I've had many, many Jewish friends over the years, wonderful, wonderful people, wonderful culture. They've contributed to world culture and history in amazing ways, and they are the really true ally we have in the Middle East as a nation, and we are foolish to forsake them.
You know, I always look forward to Wednesdays to having you on the air and discussing these various topical items that are in the news. And I'm out of time, and I wanted to get into the Kayla Mueller story from Prescott, Arizona, and the sadness there. If you could give me a real short 30-second feeling about Kayla and the other hostages and the ineptness of our government not doing anything to help them, I'd appreciate a quick response. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you're going to have to help me. I don't recognize the name.
Kayla Mueller was the young lady that went over to Syria to help the victims over there. And
killed in the bombing?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I think it's absolutely tragic. It's a very sad thing. Here was a young lady, and I don't know her motives or anything else, but clearly she was there to help people.
Absolutely.
Trying to do good things, as so many times Americans do. And instead of getting support from our country and efforts to protect her and help her, she's ignored, which happens all too often. And sadly, this is a reason why people need to think twice before they go places in this world, especially these days, as Americans, because it's a dangerous world. There's a lot of people out there who don't like America or Americans. And regardless of what her politics were, and like I say, I don't know what they were, I think it's a very sad thing. We should all have her family in prayer. And, this is another example of what a weak government does, Zeb. A weak government for America means Americans aren't even safe to travel.
Amen.
In the past, Americans could travel safely because the rest of the world knew we better not mess with them or we're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely.
They don't feel that way anymore.
Absolutely. Doug Johnson, Colorado, dear friend. Doug, God's blessings to you. Have a great week, and I'll be in touch, okay?
Sounds great, Zeb. You too.
Author and writer of the Horse Sense blog, Doug Johnson, and we appreciate him being on our program this morning. Hey, this weekend, are you like me? You always procrastinate and you don't go out and get your lovey something really nice for Valentine's Day? Well, listen, I got some ideas for you. How about going to Whipple's Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley? Yeah, Colonel Dale and the crew. Oh, my goodness, they got the perfect gifts for your Valentine. They got over 3 floors tons of books and precious moments and greeting cards and crafts and art supplies. Holy cow, the Book Plaza has it all. And if you mention that you heard this ad on my program, you get 10% off your purchase. Oh my, the Book Plaza. Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Happy Valentine's Day. And then also, while you're in Burley, don't forget Perkins Restaurant. I'm going to drool all over the microphone telling you about this. 800 North Overland in Burley. They've got Valentine's Day features in their restaurant, Coast to Coast Classics. Listen to this. Oregon Apple Brioche French Toast Platter. I love French toast. That sounds so good. Or how about this? The Rocky Mountain Scramble, or the Big Baja Benedict, or the Philly Steak Melt, and many, many others. Oh, and their bakery items like the peanut butter cake pie. Oh, my. Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley, wishing you and yours a happy Valentine's Day. Does that sound good? Oh, my. To heck with the diet. Oh, it sounds good. Hey, listen to this. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. Rupert and Burley. It's in between, by golly. And it's where the fun is sold. Now, the other day they said they've got rebates on dirt bikes. Great, great time to buy. And get ready for spring. Here's something else to consider, too. Don't forget your four-wheel needs service for this next summer. And if you're like me, you put it off till the last minute, and then, oh my gosh, you're going to be standing in a long line. You better call them today. Call them at 436-4771 and get your four-wheelers over there. They've got a super great qualified mechanic shop over there. Service work impeccable. They do the job. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. In just a very few moments, we are going to have Senator Lee Hyder on the air, so stand by for that. I also want to remind you, while you're over in that neck of the woods of Highway 24 in Rupert, don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Absolutely top-notch people. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, dedicated and responsive to your needs, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They know, and they can help you. Call the number, make an appointment, 436-4424. 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Right now, we're going to visit with a gentleman that I have the utmost respect for. He is a servant to the public and has done an outstanding job as one of the senators for the state of Idaho. We say good morning to Lee Hyder. Good morning, Senator.
Well, good morning, Zeb. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. It's so good to have you on our program again. And I think to start off with, if you will, I've got a lot of questions, but I'd like you to give me a quick synopsis of some of the big items that you're working on right now up at the legislative session.
Well, first of all, your ad just reminded me I need to get my four-wheeler in and service before summer comes, and I'm looking forward to the time when we're out and being able to use that again.
Absolutely.
Up here in the legislature, we have several things going on today. In resources, we're going to be talking about aquifer management. I know that's a big deal to everybody in the Magic Valley. They're trying to expand the area of impact. They call it Project 50, and expand the area of impact of the aquifer and to from hilltop to hilltop in our valley, and so that issue is going to be coming up. We're gonna vote on Mr. Stackman, the director, to see if we want to retain him as the chairman of the board for the water board. We're meeting occasionally on LAP tags. We're still discussing that issue. It seems like it never goes away. In my committee in health and welfare, we're dealing with Optum issues, which is help for those with behavioral health problems, how the providers get paid, and we're studying Medicaid redesign, which I'm sure you've heard about as an issue this year. That we're just trying to grapple with some of these things, and of course, education is where the majority of the budget money goes. So that's always number one on everybody's mind: is where are we going with education? So, this year, as with previous years, there's no lack of issues that have come before us.
Lee, Senator, let me ask you this, and I want to start off with some of the items that you talked about last in that last paragraph, but very, very important. I'm going to be doing a series of segments next week on Medicare and Medicaid, and I think you understand what the problems are. You've read about it, studied it, and you know that it's becoming increasingly difficult for Medicare and Medicaid patients to get in and see a doctor, and it's going to get worse with Obamacare going into full force this year, 2015. Tell me, what's going on so that we can protect our people on Medicare and Medicaid?
Well, you know, Zeb, I think that people that are already on the programs of Medicare or Medicaid, Medicare is mostly for older adults, Medicaid's for young children, and both of them are well protected. I think the issue that we're grappling with is whether or not to expand that to include more people. Obviously, more of the people that are from 100 to 138% of the federal poverty level. And so that's become the issue around here, and there's been a reluctance in years past, and even some this year, to how to do that, whether to do that, whether to take federal funds. And quite frankly, when we visited about it, and we had a wonderful presentation last week from the director of the Department of Health and Welfare, Dick Armstrong, gave us a great presentation. But at the end, my question for him was, well, as you know, Director, we read black and white issues. We read black print on white pages, and it tells us what we're going to do, and that's what we vote from. Conceptual ideas are great, but until we have something written down, it's just theory in my mind. And right now, we don't have a bill that deals with Medicaid expansion. If anybody ought to be working on that, and quite frankly, it ought to be the governor, and it ought to be the director of the Department of Health and Welfare. And if they would bring us a proposal, I'm sure it would probably. I think the likelihood is that it would pass this year in both the Senate and the House.
Well, Lee,
but so far we haven't seen direction from the top, and generally, as legislators, we don't want to lead from below.
Yeah.
So we're very frustrated up here this year in the fact that there's really not any leadership that's directing us or asking us or seeking our advice about this issue. So we're in a bit of a quandary, like we have been in the last couple of years, about whether or not to expand Medicaid and include people in that category. The benefit, obviously, is we could do away with the CAT fund and the indigent fund, who both are taxpayer groups. I mean, everybody that's a property owner in any county pays into the indigent fund through the county, through your county taxes. So if you own property in the state, you're paying into a fund to help people when they go to the emergency room. We all know that that's perhaps the highest cost place we can go to get medical help. And if we could expand Medicaid, then we could take care of those people in a service that wasn't the most expensive for them. The other thing we've developed over the last 2 years, and we got a $40 million grant for, is something we call the SHIP program. It's the Statewide Healthcare Innovation Plan. And we received a federal grant for $40 million, and really what it deals with is you becoming a patient in a doctor's patient-centered medical home. In other words, if you're the doctor and I'm one of your patients, you look after me and you get paid for keeping me healthy. So if I'm overweight and you help me to lose weight, if I'm leaning toward diabetes and you help me to overcome that, if I have other ailments that you prescribe medication for, you just try to keep me healthy, because you keeping me healthy is much more cost effective than me going into your office with debilitating diseases. So we're trying to promote that, the patient-centered medical home. And quite frankly, I thought the doctors would be resistant. They're not at all resistant. They want to see the public be more healthy, and they don't care if you're not in their office. They want to keep you healthy by a phone call, having a nurse check up on you, making sure your blood pressure is where it ought to be, giving you medication that they can prescribe for whatever your ailment is. So there's a real movement toward doctors keeping the general public more healthy in this patient-centered home model.
Well, let's go back just for a minute, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I've read a lot, studied a lot about Medicare and Medicaid, and my biggest concern with Medicare, especially now with Obamacare kind of kicking in, like I said, 2015 with higher costs and everything, and Medicare, isn't it going to be only paying about 80% of what private health insurance pays? And a lot of doctors are looking at this as a loss, a monetary loss to them, and we may lose doctors in the program and patients might lose coverage. Is that true or not true?
Well, I don't see that happening. First of all, doctors have a Hippocratic oath that they live by, and they really do want to ensure that people with medical necessities are taken care of. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a doctor, but I think that they're more concerned about our health and the total wellness of our society rather than they are about how they get paid. Doctors generally get paid through insurance programs that people have, and so, I may be naive, but I think doctors are doctors because they love people and want to see us be made well. So I have a little different concept. I don't think they're as concerned about money as they are about our wellness.
Okay.
But, I don't think we're going to lose services even under the Obamacare program, but because most people are going to have insurance coverage. That's really what Obamacare deals with, is insuring people so that when doctors give services, insurance pays for those services.
I would like to shift gears a little bit because I'm going to be doing some segments next week on Medicare and Medicaid. But first of all, we have a caller with a question, and good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering how many times Mr. Hyder has ever tried calling a doctor and asking if they actually accept Medicare or Medicaid.
Let's have him answer that on the phone. Senator, did you hear the question?
I did hear the question, and I'm a pretty healthy individual. I don't really go to the doctor much, and so no, I have probably not ever called a doctor and asked if they accept Medicare or Medicaid. I do have 27 grandchildren who, some of whom are covered by Medicaid, but they go to the doctor, and I know a lot of doctors in our community in the Twin Falls area who accept a lot of Medicare and Medicaid patients.
Well, as I said, Lee, next week I'm going to be doing quite a bit of study on this as far as both of these subject matters, and I'd like to reserve the right to call you back and have you back on and discuss this. We have one other call, and then I want to get into resources. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff. My question for your guest is you just mentioned that doctors are in the doctor field to help people, which I agree is true, but it's also unfair, don't you think, to have somebody work and provide services that don't provide a living and pay for your college and schooling. I love to drive truck, it's my passion, but I don't do it for nothing because I have to survive, and that's my question and thought.
All right, Lee, if you would please respond to the caller.
Well, I didn't really understand what the caller was trying to get at. I really do think that most people are responsible citizens, and whether they're on a welfare program or not, if they have the money to pay for their own medical services, I think they're willing to do that. Most of us have some sort of an insurance benefit that pays part of the cost of our medical care. And, I know a lot of doctors who provide medical care and aren't reimbursed for part of it because they, like I say, their desire is to keep our public healthy.
Well, so I think what I would say,
doctors are more concerned about health than they are about pay.
Well, one thing I think that
I know are wonderful people, and that's the reason they're in medicine.
I agree.
I recognize that we all have to make a living. They have to make a living like you and I have to make a living, but generally they get paid through some form of insurance for the care or the patient pays them directly.
Well, the thing I do want to say, though, is that I just have a study here in front of me written by Merrill Matthews, and they've studied Obamacare and the effects and the adverse effects as to what it's going to do. And I think what the caller was getting at a moment ago is pretty soon doctors, if they get a 20% cut in how they're paid or a 30 or 40% how they're paid, many may, according to this study in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and across the board, many may start cutting back on that type of patient for Medicare to come into their offices to the point where they know it's going to be a money-losing situation. I think that's what the caller was getting at.
Well, in the patient-centered medical home environment, Zeb, the costs of providing that care go down dramatically. If we can impart some of the responsibility from a doctor to his nurse practitioner or to his physician's assistant, and if they're calling me on the phone and saying, Lee, have you checked your blood pressure today? How is it? Is it staying? Is it stable? Do we need to readjust your medication? If you're on medication, how have you been feeling relative to whatever your ailment happens to be? Then we've reduced the cost. We've decreased that considerably from where I go into a doctor. I take a half hour of the doctor's time. I sit in his office. He has to see me personally. We've reduced that half hour to a 3-minute phone call. And he can still prescribe medicine for me to my out to Costco or wherever I get my medications, and continue to take care of me. But he does it in a much more efficient manner, using people that are not, getting a doctor's wage of $90, $100 an hour. He's using people that are making $20 an hour to perform some of the basics that people on medication need. If he needs to see me, then he has me come in. He schedules an appointment. So I think the manner in which we deliver medical services in the state of Idaho is going to change dramatically over the next year or two.
Okay.
Instead of, Dr. Epperly, Ted Epperly up here describes this as a basketball player. If you pay them every time they pass the ball and every time they shoot the ball, then you're spending a lot of money. If you only pay them for the times they make a basket, then they work more as a team and they make more baskets because they know that's how they get paid. So if you pay doctors for outcomes rather than for services provided, then the outcomes improve. And I think that's the way we're moving in Idaho relative to how we provide medicine for folks.
All right, we've got a caller on the line, and then I want to get into resources if I can. Caller real fast, please. I'm running short on time.
Yeah, I just want to ask a quick question. Senator Hyder, is there anything moving forward on a state legislature call for a constitutional convention? I understand Senator McKenzie was leaning that direction. I just wondered if anything was happening there. Appreciate his comments on that.
All right, go ahead if you would, please, Senator.
Well, that's something that has been kicked around. We had the governor from Ohio come here a couple weeks ago and talk about that very fact, and several of us attended his discussion. We haven't had much discussion here about who would attend or who would be eligible to attend the Constitutional Convention. So it is something that people are talking about, but no conclusions have been reached, I guess would be the best way to state that.
Let me ask you this, though, Lee. Are you in favor?
Those that are conservative are very concerned about that.
Right. That was my next question. I'm very concerned about a constitutional convention. I'm very afraid about the absolute messing with, if you will, a constitution that's been the best of any country in the world. What are your thoughts? Do you have the same fears and trepidations that I do?
Well, I do to a certain extent, yes, but I'm assured by those in the know, and that's always a nebulous term, but that we will only address the issues that we go there to address, and that it can't really get out of hand and start changing other parts of the Constitution or be a runaway convention. because the people that are going would be there for one reason. And so I'm not as concerned as I have been in the past, but certainly those of us that are concerned and love the Constitution don't want people playing with the Constitution. Like you said, it's been a document that's lasted a couple hundred years and served us well and provides for benefit of every citizen of the United States, and it's something that we want to take very seriously and hold very sacredly in our lives.
All right, I've got to jump in, and I just got about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I need to ask you this. Lee, you're an outdoorsman, and you've had and introduced and been successful with legislation for the right to hunt and fish in the state of Idaho, but I am very concerned with the cutbacks. I am very concerned with Big Brother agencies coming in and say, thou shalt not go here, thou shalt not go here. What are your concern about being cut out by Big Brother government into our own public lands?
You know, I don't think that's well, of course, I'm against the federal government coming into the White Clouds and changing the status of our beautiful and scenic recreational areas. I'm like you. I've ridden horses. I've ridden four-wheelers. I've ridden my Jeep. I've hunted and fished in all these beautiful backcountry places, and I wouldn't be in favor of the federal government making any of them a monument or a memorial or keeping them some sort of sacred designation that we can no longer go into and enjoy. I think we have to very much fight against overprotection, but at the same time, we do have to protect them. So let the state of Idaho manage the forests in Idaho. We don't need to take necessary ownership of their federal lands, but we need to be able to manage them. We need to be able to harvest timber. We need to be able to recreate in those properties, and I'm a staunch believer in the right of Idahoans to manage Idaho land and federal lands within the boundaries of the state of Idaho. I don't favor any monument status for any of our forests or the back countries. And as far as keeping land open, we're fighting that every day, and we're trying to discuss in resources how we use LAP tags, for example. If a landowner has property, should he have the right to hunt that? Should he have the right to receive some extra tags for deer and elk hunting on his property if he's willing to allow trespass by the general public? So those are issues that are constantly before us, Zeb, and we're looking into them, but most of all, Idahoans want to keep Idaho for Idaho.
Absolutely.
And we don't need federal intervention in our government land.
All right. Senator Lee Hyder, a good friend of this program and very amenable to come on anytime I've given him a call. Please know I'm going to call you before the session's over and have you back again. Thank you so much for being on the program.
I always look forward to it, Zeb. You have a great day.
All right, sir.
Appreciate you here as well.
All right. God bless you. Thank you very much. Senator Lee Hyder up at the legislative session, and a very good debate and conversation. Thank you very much. Holy cow, we got to get the weather in here, and the weather this hour is brought to you by Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. Number to call, 324-2004. Minor emergencies, Major Care. They are there to take care of you today. Not tomorrow, not the next day, today. So remember to call the number and the location. Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome, and that number, put it on the refrigerator, 324-2004. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Good morning. It's going to be a nice day today. In fact, this is the nice part all the way through the weekend. Sunny days, clear nights, a few clouds, but we're done with the storm for a while. 57 for the high. And the overnight low right around the mid to upper 30s. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Treating everyday injuries and illnesses, whether it's ear infections, sprains, strains, fractures, whatever, they're there to serve you at Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. That number again, 324-2004. Okay? Calls are welcome. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. And I've got a couple of minutes left in this hour. I want to remind you again that Lunch Bunch will be next week on Thursday, the 19th, at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget, it's going to be our Valentine's Day Lunch Bunch. I better see if Gina's coming. Gina, are you going to be there next Thursday?
I don't know.
Oh, short, sweet answer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It just all depends on how the day plans out.
Well, gee, you get a free lunch from me.
I know, but it's on whether I can get out of here.
I know. They just keep you locked up inside those studios and never a breath of fresh air.
Pretty much.
Yeah. What are you going to do for Valentine's Day?
Have no idea.
You don't have any idea at all?
Have no clue.
Did you buy Kennedy any?
I haven't bought anything yet.
Well, you're sure abrupt with your answers this morning.
This is called Gina when she gets 3 hours of sleep.
You know what? It was a bad night last night. We were awakened at 2 o'clock this morning, 2 hours before we normally get up. Some idiot pulled in my driveway and sat there honking the horn.
And do you know who that idiot was?
No, but I will say this, and I'm sure that the left-wing nuts and the liberals will criticize me for this. I was really ready to step outside with the old 20-gauge with birdshot and let him know how much I didn't really appreciate his being a horse's south end.
Oh, why didn't you? I would expect that you would have done as such.
You know, really, isn't that? It's completely stupid. Whether they thought they had another place or whatever. Pull in my yard, honk the horn, and then screech the tires going out, and then probably laughing and think that was really humorous.
Was it like during the hours of the bars closing or something?
It was at exactly 2 o'clock this morning. Exactly.
Well, that's not friendly, and to whoever that was, don't do that again, or that will come after you with his shotgun.
You know what I would really like to do, honestly, and I've thought a lot about this. You get these nincompoops that go down the road and they throw garbage on your lawn.
Oh, God, I hate that.
And what I would like to do is gather up that, and if I could figure out where they lived, and then I would put everything for a month's worth of garbage into those really rip-easy plastic bags and throw it on their front porch.
Fair is fair.
Oh, absolutely. Do we have a caller?
We do.
Okay, caller, real quick. I only got a minute. Go fast.
I think you better figure out something else to take out there besides the 20 gauge. I remember when you had the Swallows and how many boxes of shells you shot, and I think you got one, didn't you?
Caller, we are not in the habit of taking obscene phone calls. Thank you very much for your thinking of calling this morning. Goodbye. Have a good day.
See you later.
Okay, bye. It's true, I'm a lousy shot. Anyway, Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center, 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 677-3073. They would love to visit with you. Parkview Care and Rehabilitation Center, a nursing home providing medical nursing service for seniors with serious illnesses or disabilities 24 hours a day. They never forget that you are their valued guest and the reason that they're there. You better believe it. A 5-star rating from the government. Highest rating awarded to skilled nursing facilities, the best. Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center, 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 677-3073. How dare that caller question my Annie Oakley abilities at shooting a weapon. Well, it's true. I can't hit the broadside of a barn. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. Have a good day. Once again, Chili Championship Cook-Off over at Magic Valley Tire this Saturday, Valentine's Day, at Magic Valley Tire in Paul. And they're going to start at 10:30 with the judging. And if you'd like to enter a chili, please, 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 we need to show Mad Max that somebody can make a hot chili that will back him up and say, woohoo! He says he's never met a chili that was hot enough. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, call Amber at 438-8444. The judging judging at 10:30. Then they're going to start the free food with the chili and the cinnamon rolls at 11 till 2. It's going to be great, and there'll be prizes paid to the top 3 chilies. Going to be absolutely fantastic, delicious. We are going to take a little break and come back with Dan Simmons with the Institute of Energy Research. And then at 10:30, we have Dr. Pamela Morris coming back on the air. And she is the heart doctor from back east in the Carolinas, and she's going to tell us all about a healthy heart. Don't go away. I'll be back in 6. Oh, my goodness. Good morning. Hour number 3. Zev at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Locally owned and operated. Serving you, Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. Did you hear what the Chadwick is doing on Valentine's Day this Saturday? Oh, they've got a special menu, and they're going to have items like stuffed pork loin and a 6-ounce steak with option of sautéed onions and mushrooms, or shrimp scampi, or chicken cordon bleu. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal, along with the soups and the side dishes and the desserts, and it's 2 for $32.95. What a great dining delight at the Chadwick Sports Grill this Valentine's Day, 139 West Main in Burley. Don't put it off. Get your sweetie and head to the Chadwick Sports Grill on Valentine's Day for their great menu specials. Sounds delicious. Right now, let's go to the telephone, and a gentleman that has been on this program before, and I'm looking forward to having him on today to talk about a subject that's got my blood boiling already. From the Institute of Energy Research, Dan Simmons. Hello, Daniel. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing, Zeb?
Well, I got to tell you, we have not had the time, as you're well aware, because you jumped in at the last minute to help me, and I appreciate that, with an open segment for this half hour. But the information that was sent to me, I just had a chance to briefly look it over, and I'm mad. What in the world is going on with Global Divestment Day?
So, the same people that are behind the stopping the Keystone XL pipelines, the group called 350.org and other of the, Sierra Club and other groups like that, they have what they call Global Divestment Day. And what they want to divest from is from fossil fuels. And what it means to divest is what they're trying to do is to get institutional investors, such as universities, as well as average individuals, to sell off the stocks that they own of natural gas, coal, and oil companies. As a protest, essentially a global warming protest. Now, where in the world these people think that we will get the 82% of our energy that currently comes from those sources, they don't say. Where in the world these people think that we're going to get any of the products of modern life, anything that has anything to do with plastics, for example, or fertilizers, because fertilizers are made from natural gas, or steel, because coal is an important part of the process of making steel, or aluminum, because coal or pet coke, some source of carbon is needed to make aluminum. Now, where these people think you're going to get that stuff from, I have no clue, and it really looks to me that instead of Global Divestment Day, these guys either want Global Poverty Day or Global Back to the Stone Age Day.
Dan, you've been on my program quite a few times, and I've got a lot of respect for you. You're a good guest, and you know what's going on. What is in the minds of these people? What in the world where somebody used their head as a Spalding basketball and dribbled down the hospital room floor when they were born? I mean, what's the matter with them? Where is the energy going to come from, and how is a society going to be anything but going back to the caveman days?
I have no idea, honestly. I mean, they look at one thing that they see as, that they believe is a problem. And, okay, great. So you think that global warming's a problem. That, okay. we can disagree on that, but and then they just go crazy from there, and thinking that we must stop all use of of natural gas, oil, and coal, and that's just absolutely craziness. And what it does, I think it's two things. One, it's a kind of a religious belief that anything that man does is bad. That we have fallen. The original sin was actually humans figuring out fire. And then the other part of it is they just don't, there is just this incredible ignorance that they have about where our energy comes from and where all these products of modern life actually come from.
I guess the good thing about this, if I'm looking at this correctly, Dan, and please feel free to correct me, is that it's on this weekend, on a Friday and a Saturday, which is a very slow, if you will, if it's in the afternoon, buy, sell, or whatever on the stock market, so I'm not too concerned about that. And then Saturday, of course, is Valentine's Day, and they can go around throwing little red hearts up in the air or whatever. But these people are scary. Who is promoting and paying the bills for this kind of a idiocy with Global Divestment Day? Who's footing the bill?
It's a very good question, and there's recently a story that peeks behind the curtain a little bit, or at least has some very interesting circumstantial evidence about where some of this money is coming from. There is a group that is called the Sea Change Foundation. It's based in the Bahamas, and if you look who runs it, it's just a couple of people, and you look who their other clients are, because they're, one of the guys is an attorney from the UK. It turns out that some of their other clients are, say, Rosneft, which is the Russian oil company. And so it looks like, because they don't disclose where the money comes from, and millions of dollars get channeled through the Sea Change Foundation to U.S. environmental groups. And so what it sure looks like is that this could be one way that the Russians are funneling money to go after all of the, anything in the U.S. that has to do with energy, because, the Russians aren't stupid. They see that their allies are the environmental groups, because with the hydraulic fracturing revolution that has crashed the price of oil, oil is now $50 a barrel instead of $150 a barrel. So that you have these groups that are going after hydraulic fracturing. You also have these groups that are going after the Keystone XL pipeline, because heaven forbid we get oil from Canada, and so they want to stop us producing oil. They want to stop us using any of these sources. And really, from the Russians' perspective, of course that's what they want, because when you have more oil on the global market, which is what we have today, it means lower prices overall. And the Russians, what they want is to be able to charge a heck of a lot of money to keep making ridiculous amounts of money on not only their oil but also natural gas. So who in the world would be behind efforts to slow down, permitting for LNG exports in the United States? I don't think that it takes a big guess, but, the Russians are part of it, as long as with, people like Tom Steyer and these other environmentalists that have theirs and don't want the rest of us to have the opportunity to live a good life.
Let me ask you this, and you hear about these things long before I would, but what kind of a society, what kind of living, what kind of lifestyle do these people want? Have they got any anticipatory feelings as to where they would be, how they'd have to go out and live in a cave and burn buffalo dung? Have they planned anything like this in their mind? Do they have any idea the kind of lunacy that they're promoting?
No. I really don't think they do, and I hope to have the opportunity this weekend. We'll see to go out and talk to some of these protesters, these activists, because if they think in their minds they probably think, yes, well, we need to get back to nature.
Yeah.
Well, heck, anybody that goes quote unquote back to nature these days. Look, they might sleep in a tent. What's that tent made from? Nylon and other, higher tech fabrics. Where do you think that comes from? That comes from the oil and natural gas. They have their backpack. What's their backpack made out of? Almost all backpacks are made out of, nylon or, those sorts of fabrics. That's what backpacks are made of. That's what all of these high tech products are made out of. Something is even down to something as simple as purifying water filters. Frequently, it's activated charcoal that's in the filters. Where do you think that comes from? So, I mean, it's just these people just do not think at all about what they're actually promoting. They see one problem, oh my goodness, global warming, and they think that any means are, acceptable at stopping that problem. What, starving half the world to death or more than that, 80% of the world to death, that's a good solution? No, that's absolute lunacy, especially because with today's technology, we can solve all of these problems that exist around the world, but that isn't what they want. They're scared of, really when it comes down to it, they're scared of technology, they're scared of modern life, and that's what they're rebelling against.
Though, Dan, when you just said something very important in that last little grouping you had, there wouldn't be any medical science. There wouldn't be any doctors. There wouldn't be any hospitals because there wouldn't be any pharmaceuticals. There wouldn't be any research. There wouldn't be any food. There wouldn't be any agriculture. You're not going to push the big John Deeres through the fields with a wind propeller. There wouldn't be any building. There wouldn't be any clothing processed. These people are complete buffoons. They have no idea or concept. They're jumping on a bandwagon of complete lunacy thanks to the people like Tom Steyers and George Soros.
No, that's right. I mean, they are complete buffoons, and it's important to say that. And what is sad is that this divestment movement it takes root on college campuses. There's a few colleges that have actually sold off their some of the what their endowment holds in certain fossil fuel companies. Stanford University is probably the biggest among them, and then the rest of them are a bunch of small ones. But you just have to ask, guys, what the heck? What are you actually doing? And the point is that they don't they don't understand what they're promoting. In the name of a certain type of ethics is absolutely unethical. As you mentioned with pharmaceuticals, one of the ways that we make pharmaceuticals is by some of the molecules actually come from natural gas. Guys, that's where this stuff comes from. That's where all of these, if you go into a hospital these days, where do you think all these sterilized products come from? Not only the saline solution bags and the blood bags and the other things like that, and bandages. These stuffs are products of natural gas and oil after it's refined. To go through all these processes, but that's where the stuff comes from, and that is what is so frustrating. Is that just this belief? Oh, the wind or the sun, that's everything we need. Well, yeah, sure, if you want your life to be short and nasty, but if you want to actually live a long life, you might need something a little bit more, something substantial, and something that's I don't know, high tech like we have today.
Dan, my biggest fear, and I mean this, is I'm doing a lot of research right now on the incompetency of thinking, and we even have a local newspaper here, the Times News in Twin Falls, and one of their chief editors and op-ed writers is absolutely a fanatic about global change or climate change and global warming. And we haven't had, and I've got a graph right in front of me that I've obtained from some scientists and professors at various universities, and the graph shows that for over the last 18 years there hasn't been any global warming. As a matter of fact, it's tending on the cooling side. All that being said, and pardon me for taking so long to phrase my question, but this morning in our newspaper we had two stories. One headline said, "Risks of climate engineering weighed as last-ditch solution." And then another story, almost adjacent to it, said, "Fed report, time to examine purposely cooling the planet." Now, Daniel, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that in cooler, colder temperatures, food, disease, death because of freezing temperatures, not being able to heat their homes, elderly suffering. What is the matter with these idiots?
That's a fine question. Where is it easier? I mean, my family lives in Utah, so and they tell me that this winter has been rather pleasant. Where is it easier? Where do you have more hardship? In Boston, where they have a ton of snow, or out living in the Intermountain West, where you guys have actually had rather pleasant temperatures this winter? Well, it's obvious. And I'm not promoting like hotter temperatures during winter. All I'm saying is that cold weather is really nasty. It's really hard on people, and and that's just what drives me. It's what really drives me crazy about this whole thing.
When you
saying, well, we need it to be colder. No, guys, cold is not necessarily pleasant. I like the cold sometimes during the winter, but harsh cold is really nasty and really hard on people. Harsh heat is also tough on people, and that's why for either hot or cold, that's what's so great about living today. It's because that's why we have air conditioning. That's why we have home heating, so that we can, overcome, what nature dishes out. Because nature has always dished out this stuff. And what's great about modern technology, and when we get 82% of our energy from natural gas, coal, and oil, we can overcome that hardship. But they want to take that away.
Daniel, I know you've studied this, but when I sat here and read those stories this morning about human beings trying to play God and trying to alter the weather patterns and trying to create these great big clouds of cold weather that would rain down upon us in the form of crystallized snow and rain and much, much colder temperatures, and changing the climate of the planet. I mean, these people are trying to, like I said a moment ago, play God, and this really scares me about these people.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, just this, it's crazy. Let me just say that it's crazy. And how long do we think that they would be able to do that? When as soon as something, as soon as they talk about, as soon as these, let's say that they could create some type of very cold front that comes through somehow, people are going to hate that, and it's going to stop right away because obviously people are going to die. In all this stuff, in public policy, in politics, in government, one of the most important things that I think is missing, and far too often, is some humility. Instead of trying to think that the answers are coming from Washington or the answers are coming from a few scientists. Let people figure this stuff out for themselves, because sometimes it's really complex, sometimes it's really hard, and so, people should be able to make their own decisions as opposed to having whatever those decisions are dictated from Washington, especially when it comes to something as crazy as, Washington, being able to dictate what the weather will be.
Daniel, last thought here this morning, but we've got roughly about 708 days left of Obama, and I'm worried. I'm more than worried. I'm absolutely scared as to what this man is going to try to do, what this man's going to try to dictate, what he's going to try to do with executive orders. Energy is one of the things I'm scared about, because when you have incompetent people like Susan Rice and the president himself saying they're more concerned about climate change than they are terrorism and ISIS, when people are being beheaded and people are being burned in cages, what is the matter with these people?
I have no idea what the matter is. I mean, it's just absolutely, completely misplaced priorities. When you have the president saying that, that climate change is a greater threat than terrorism, I think that's absolutely, that's absolutely crazy. Deal with these very real, very, fixable threats, as opposed to, running around being concerned that some days are hot and some days are cold. It's a really frustrating thing. And just today, I mean, you mentioned the amount of time that President Obama has left in this term. Just today, there's a new regulation out to regulate the energy efficiency of gas furnaces, in residential gas furnaces. Some of the people are saying, and like I said, this is brand new, so I haven't had a chance to delve into it, nor have I had a chance to really talk to the experts, but some of the experts are really concerned about what this means, because what it could mean is that when people's natural gas furnaces die, it may mean that the only way to replace them is to install an electric furnace.
Oh, my.
That's crazy talk. In Idaho, it's not horrible because Idaho has low electricity prices. But you know what? What more are we going to get from the administration? And the answer is a lot more. Of these kind of regulations that dramatically affect our lives, but are like sneaked in, and people have little opportunity to have their voice heard. But you have bureaucrats here in D.C. that want to tell the rest of everyone, how to live their lives, and in ways that's like absolutely crazy. Why should the federal government be telling you what type of furnace you should have? That should be your choice in figuring out what works best for you, your family, and what fuel sources are available.
Yeah, but you just touched on something, and I've only got a minute left. But when 42% of the electric grid is funded and created because of coal generation, and you take coal generation away, these people don't realize their electric cars are no good. They're not going to have electric heat. They're all going to be living in a cave, like I said earlier, trying to find wood to build a fire to keep warm. They just aren't thinking.
Well, either they're just not thinking, or that's actually what they want. They want, 3/4 of the world's population to die, and for the rest to live in caves.
I think that's probably a sum up of what they want. They absolutely have no love for mankind or what the good Lord's provided us. Daniel, you got to promise me that when you go to this meeting, call me. I don't care if you call collect. I want to get a synopsis of what you found out from these people. Let me know next week so we can get that schedule on the air. Would you do that for me?
All right, sounds good.
All right, Daniel Simmons, great guy with the Institute of Energy Research. Thank you for being on the program this morning. Appreciate it. He's gone. Okay. Adios. Thank you, Daniel. This is unbelievable. And now they want to start being God. They want to start the seeding of clouds to make our planet cooler. Think about that. Where are the healthiest environments to live? Where do they grow most of the crops? Where do people want to live in the wintertime? They go south. And now they want to purposely cool and frigid the climate and the entire planet. These people, Obama's one of them, are trying to play God. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And next week on this program, we're going to have quite a few segments on this with the Heartland Institute out of Chicago, Illinois. Don't miss it. Don't forget, this weekend is Valentine's Day, and I want to remind, every time I say this commercial, I just sit there and I go, oh my goodness, I wished I wasn't so pudgy. The bookstore over at 515 5th Street in Rupert, they've got the caramel-filled chocolate hearts. Oh, I gotta splurge and have one, just one. They've got them in the larger small, and they've got all the fudge and the different flavors, and they got the fudge dip cinnamon bears for Valentine's giving. Oh my! Valentine's cards, all kinds of goodies at the bookstore. 515 5th Street in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Husbands, boyfriends, have I got an idea for you? Don't forget the Dreams Day Spa and Salon at 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Oh my goodness, a full-service salon and spa. Get a gift certificate. Hand it to her, and she's just going to give you a great big hug and say, thank you. They've got massages and facials, manicures and pedicures and nail enhancements and all the different hair coloring products and everything. Oh, your gal will just come out of there looking like she ought to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. Dreams Day Spa and Salon, 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley, wishing you and yours a happy Valentine's Day. All right, we are going to take a little break, and we're going to send it over to our main studios right now, and we're going to be back, and coming up for the next half hour, we're going to have Dr. Pamela Morris back on behalf of February being American Heart Month, and we got a lot of questions, and we'll invite your questions for a healthy heart. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want to get right back into this and apologize to the doctor for having her patients wait so long on the phone. We are blessed to have back with us today Dr. Pamela Morris, the chair-elect of the American College of Cardiology Prevention Committee, and she was on the other day, and we just absolutely appreciate her coming back during February Heart Month. And good morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, and my goal is to keep you all out of that funeral home as long as possible.
Oh, thank you so much, and that leads me right into the first aspect that I wanted to talk to you about this morning, doctor. All of us, and I went through this about now going on 3 weeks ago, didn't realize any of the warning signs, didn't really care. I just thought life was going on as usual, and then bang, all of a sudden I was very blessed that it wasn't any worse than what it was. I had a mild heart attack. All of us have potentially a time bomb ticking in our chest if we don't take care of ourselves. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. And, you know, I think with heart disease, heart and vascular disease being the leading causes of death, I think we have to play the odds. I mean, the odds are in our favor that this disease will affect us. And what we need to do is be very proactive about it, which is to be screened early and know what you're up against, because the earlier you can come in and modify your risk factors, the better chance we have of preventing an acute event.
Now, when you say modify our risk factors, this would be an ideal time. What are the risk factors, whether they're 35, 45, 55, or 65? What do people need to be looking for and looking out that might happen?
You know, that one of the things is, it's so funny. I feel like sometimes what we've done is over-message this because it's far less complex than we would like to make it, which is that these things we've been hearing for years now about how important it is to control your blood pressure. Don't be afraid to start that medication if you're in the early stages of high blood pressure. You have to have your cholesterol checked. The recommendations are that even children be screened by age 10, and every adult should have a lipid panel and should actually know their numbers. Other risk factors, diabetes. Diabetes is a very potent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Another risk factor that is so important, as we all know, is tobacco use. And not only just smoking cigarettes, cigars, and even snuff. Chewing tobacco can have cardiovascular effects as well. So really important to consider those things. Another thing is your family history. And I do like to point out that there are two types of family history. One is the type where you grew up in a family that made bad choices. So my parents chain smoked. Okay, but I made different choices. So yes, I have a family history of heart disease, but I made different choices. The second type of family history is the family history where you really, truly inherited some genetic factor, whether it be an abnormal cholesterol or a tendency toward high blood pressure or diabetes. It's very important that you see your doctor to determine what, if your family history is due to your parents' bad choices or if it's due to a genetic factor. And only early and regular screening with your physician can help you determine that.
One of the things that we touched on the other day, Dr. Morris, and we didn't, because of time constraints, have a chance to really elaborate on it, was stress. Now, I know that my stress factor contributed a lot to the problem I had. I guess an obviously naive question would be, how do you eliminate or try to slow down stress in a person's life?
You know, unfortunately I confront this on a regular basis with many of my patients, and some of it is making choices, which is figuring out what the priorities are. Is your priority making as much money as you can, or getting ahead, or, whatever your priority is? Or is your priority living a long and fulfilling life, and you may need to make some choices along the way? I will tell you that time and time again, I have decided I will never say I'm retiring. And the reason is I cannot tell you the number of patients I see who have worked like crazy in high-stress environments for years, finally decide to retire, and bam, just as they retire, the heart attack hits them, because now they're in the heart attack range. They've, ignored their exercise, ignored their diet, ignored their risk factors because they needed to get ahead in their career, and they completely neglected their own personal health. Now, I do believe I'm a high energy person, and I thrive on deadlines, and I like things going on in my life. But as you and I talked about the last time, I do make self-care a priority. And the first thing that goes on my personal calendar is my exercise. And I fit meetings in around that. But that is my protected time, because I am absolutely of no use to my employer or my family if I'm in that funeral home.
Let me ask you this, and I've got to admit that after I had my heart attack, the doctor, after about 10 days, said that I could go back and resume a normal exercise pattern and even increase it. I got to admit to you that, boy, the first couple of minutes of exercise, I had a lot of worries about, am I going to do too much? Am I going to hurt the stent in my heart? Am I going to cause a problem? And every ache and pain I've had since starting the exercise program, a person develops a pattern of worry. Am I doing too much? And am I going to hurt myself?
Right. It's very interesting, because in many ways, prior to the placement of your stent, that's when you should have been afraid. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
That was the risky time in your life. Once you have that stent providing normal blood flow to the heart muscle again, now you're in the best possible position. It's very normal after a heart attack or a stent to feel some anxiety. You faced your own mortality. And in addition, there's some depression and there is some anxiety. So it's really a good idea for people to be aware of that and expect it. And, depression is also a very strong risk factor for heart disease as well. It can, lead us to bad eating habits or other bad habits. So really those things need to be addressed with your physician.
Now let's talk a little bit about diet, Dr. Morris, and I know you're very, very knowledgeable in all aspects of the heart and taking care of ourselves. What about the diet? I mean, once people have a heart attack or even before, do they really need to just have kind of a bland diet and not ever go out to eat, not ever have a piece of cake, not ever have a piece of peach pie a la mode? I mean, are they subjected to just eating greens and sitting back and trying to enjoy it?
Well, what I do, first of all, I think the proper diet for each person will vary. And in many ways, that varies upon whether you're diabetic, whether you have high blood pressure, or the specific type of cholesterol or lipid abnormality that you have. There may be subtle variations in the diet. Some people may do better on a low carbohydrate diet. Some people, and higher protein, some may do better on a lower protein diet. It really depends on your specific condition. But what I try to use a philosophy even in my own life of cheating wisely. And that is that for the most part, I make wise choices for those things that don't make that big a difference to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not that interested in filet mignon, or a hamburger. That's not of interest to me. So what will I do? I will choose salmon, or I will choose the blackened mahi or whatever. But what I do is, my deal breaker is pizza. I cannot and will not give up pizza. So what do? I do eat pizza. I eat it in moderation. I eat one slice, maybe two slices. I start with a big green, rich salad with lots of yummy veggies. So I eat less pizza, and I cheat wisely. So I cheat for the things that matter to me.
I see.
So I see a lot of people go through a buffet, or they'll be in a restaurant, and they get some blah, it's dessert, it's sweet, but it's really not that good, it's really not that tasty, but someone puts it in front of them and they eat it. What I think people need to do is be mindful. Make good choices when there are good choices available to you, and allow yourself to splurge. Have a piece of cake on your birthday. Have a smaller piece. Don't, get a quarter of the cake and put 3 scoops of ice cream on it. But make sure that you allow yourself those pleasures.
What about the actual explaining, if you would, about what a heart attack actually is? We've heard the terminology. Everybody says don't have a heart attack, that type of thing. But basically, doctor, what happens physically when you do have a heart attack?
Well, what most heart attacks are, the majority of heart attacks are, that over decades, it takes a long time for plaque to build up in your artery, and all of the risk factors continue to this nasty cholesterol going into the wall of the artery. The artery wall gets very inflamed. And just like buildup on your pipes in your sink, over time, that plaque begins to build up. Now, what happens in a heart attack is that angry, inflamed plaque will do what we call rupture. It kind of gets too big for its britches, and it ruptures. And all that angry cholesterol and inflammation goes out into the bloodstream, and it activates your blood's clotting system to form a clot. Now, that coronary artery is supplying the strongest and most important muscle in your body. And when blood flow stops in that coronary artery, the muscle beyond that will die and become weak. Now, it's not the entire heart. There's 3 major coronary arteries. There are multiple little branches off of it. But wherever the blockage is, wherever the interruption is, everything downstream from that is at risk of dying. Now, the good news is, and this is why people live so long with heart disease now, we are very good at intervening very early. And that's one thing I can tell both you and your listeners, Zeb, which is that present to the emergency room as early as you possibly can if you're worried you're having symptoms, because time is muscle. And that is the most important muscle in your body. So if there's any chance that you're having a heart attack, no matter how small, we want you to come in right away so that we can get you on medicine, and we can get you promptly to the heart catheterization lab, where we can put a stent across that blockage and restore normal blood flow to your heart muscle and keep it alive.
Absolutely. Doctor, do you hear a lot of women say, oh, well, men have most of the heart attacks, I don't have to worry. Are they just as susceptible as men are?
Well, on a woman, when you look at, there are so many women in the world, because women live longer, that more women than men have heart attacks. But that's just because there are so many women. Overall, men still have a slightly higher risk of disease than women do. And I think you and I talked about the last time that women tend to present about 8 to 10 years later than men do. There seems to be a protective effect, possibly, of estrogen before a woman goes through menopause. So women are at risk. And the biggest problem with women is that women tend to, we tend to focus on premature disease, and since men develop heart disease a little bit earlier than women do, we're all about taking care of the men, and we forget to take care of ourselves as women.
Absolutely.
And so women need to be very alert and aware of this, and this is why you see all over the country, in fact all over the world now, women going red. And that's what that Red Dress campaign means, is raising awareness among women.
Doctor, I've only got about 2 minutes left, and I would like, if you could, please give us a short synopsis of what people need to know. What kind of steps do they need to take to make sure that they're not at a high risk for heart disease, or to better serve their heart by better care of their body?
I think first and foremost, you need to control your lifestyle choices, whether it be stress, diet, or exercise. Those things make an enormous difference. The second thing is talk with your doctor. Let your doctor know you want to be screened for your risk of heart attack, and you want to know if you have any heart disease risk factors. And the sooner you do that, the better your chance of avoiding the consequences.
I've got to tell you, Dr. Morris, you are the easiest person to talk to and get information from, and I say this and I mean it in all sincerity. God bless you. Quickly, American Heart Month is the month of February. What should people do? How can they help? How can they be more cognizant? Tell us, please, about February American Heart Month.
Well, I would suggest that if you want to get more involved, contact your local American Heart Association or go to the American Heart Association's website. There are so many opportunities. I have been a volunteer for 30 years for the American Heart Association. So I would advise you to get involved, learn CPR, and help your community and save the lives of you, your family, and your neighbors.
What a blessing to have this lovely lady on our program, the chair-elect of the American College of Cardiology Prevention Committee. I consider her to be a friend, and I've only talked to her twice. Dr. Pamela Morris, God's blessings to you, and I will be in touch. Thank you so much.
And I look forward to see you in Burley.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
A wonderful lady, and just absolutely a wonderful doctor, Dr. Pamela Morris. We have got to hurry and get the weather in, and the weather is sponsored by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, the number to call. They offer the very best of beef, pork, lamb, wild game processing, serving all of southern Idaho, and they guarantee everything they sell. Scarrows Meats, 324-7657. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Good morning. It's going to be a nice day today. In fact, this is the nice part all the way through the weekend. Sunny days, clear nights, a few clouds, but we're done with the storm for a while. 57 for the high. And the overnight low right around the mid to upper 30s. Enjoy the weather. Still know whether you got.
All right. Michael Rogers' weather brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Oh, yes. Selling taste one bite at a time. They are good. Oh, my. Gina, real quick, I've only got a minute before I have to wrap things up with my Les Schwab commercial and our major sponsor. That doctor is absolutely the best at explaining things, is she not?
Oh, she's great. She's great, and she's coming to Burley?
That's what I heard her say, and I'm going to be in touch with her office. She lives in South Carolina, and I'm going to be checking because I'll guarantee you if she's going to be in the Burley area, I'll have her on the air, and we'll make a concentrated effort to meet her in person.
That would be wonderful because, honestly, she is so informative, and she's just so sweet.
Oh, nice lady. Very nice lady. And you should see her resume. It's a 2-page solid resume of all the different schools. I mean, everything she's done, everything she's attended. She knows of what she speaks. Let me tell you that.
It sounds like it, so definitely excited to actually meet her in person.
All right, Gina, thank you for all you do. Right now, I want to remind everybody the big Founders Day celebration is going on at your magazine. Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in honor of Mr. Les Schwab. What a super gentleman. Well, Les Schwab Tire Centers, they're offering you some money savers, like, how about this? $50 off custom wheels when you buy a brand new set of 4, or $20 off wheel alignment when you buy 4 new tires. And they've got all-season tread, economically priced tires starting at just as low as $39.99. You better stop in today and check out your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and the 7 locations. Don't forget the very best in brake service, the very best in batteries and front-end alignments and shocks and struts, and, of course, all the tires for your driving needs. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline, Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okie doke, tonight, or I should say today, we had guests of all different segments, and tomorrow on Thursday, which is, tomorrow's Lincoln's birthday. Happy birthday, Abe. Thursday, of course, we have all the segments like the Chamber of Commerce Report and Cassia County School Days, Rita Ramsey, and just many, many, Dog Nation, just to name a few, so tune in tomorrow morning. We'll saddle the horse and ride at 8:06 right here on Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR 1230 AM and streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. Thanks again to Deanne. Thanks again to Gina. Thanks again to everybody for calling in, and we enjoy having your calls and opinions. Right here on Zeb at the Ranch, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. The way things were are the way things ought to be.